Okay, so you know how we're always talking about digging into stuff that makes you think, right?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah.
this time you sent us something pretty wild.
Oh, yeah, this one.
This newsletter
Yeah.
from a group calling themselves Patriots.eus.
Patriots.eus.
Right off the bat, that name is like, whoa, what's
Yeah.
going on here? But the stuff inside, it's like a whole different way of looking at the world.
It really is, and that's what caught my eye. I think you'll find this really relevant too,
Totally.
because it's all about information. Like, how do we know what to pay attention to?
Right. Are we focusing on the right thing?
Exactly, and that's where their idea of diversionism comes in. It's kind of like saying, hey, are we being distracted from what really matters?
So,
Right,
okay,
so,
let's break down who are these patriots at US people.
okay,
Well, this bulletin they put out says their big thing is promoting something called political foresight.
foresight.
Like they want a peaceful union of patriots of the free world.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just reacting to today's news,
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to figure out what's coming next.
That's interesting.
And then use that to shape policies, especially for this thing they call the Euro-Atlantic Confederal Project.
So they're playing the long game.
Big time. It's all about anticipating the future.
I see. So it's not just about reacting to the present. They have this bigger picture in mind.
Yeah, and that makes this whole diversionism thing even more important to them.
Right, because if they're trying to see what's ahead and someone's messing with their view, that's a problem.
Exactly. And that's what this newsletter is all about. Combating diversionism before political and media despotism.
Catchy title.
Right. It's like they're sounding the alarm.
Totally. This diversionism, it's their big worry right now.
They don't mess around either.
Mm.
They call it a dangerous phenomenon
Uh-huh.
full of tactics of misinformation and sabotage.
Okay, so they're saying this isn't just like honest mistakes or people getting things wrong, it's intentional.
Yeah. It's like a strategy to pull our attention away from what they see as the real issues at stake.
Interesting. So who benefits from this diversionism according to them?
They say it's all about keeping outdated and obsolete regimes in power.
Ah, so it's about maintaining the status quo, even if that status quo isn't working for everyone.
And get that, they say this diversionism, it paves the way for political and media despotism.
Whoa. Okay, so how do they connect those dots? How does distraction lead to despotism?
Well, think about it. If you can control what people talk about and focus on,
Right.
you can kind of control how they see the world.
Control the narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you keep throwing distractions out there, even if they seem important on the surface,
Mm-hmm.
people might not notice the really big problems that need fixing.
So it's like a magician's trick. You're looking at the flashy hand movements,
Yeah.
but missing what's really happening.
Totally. And then certain groups can step in and say, hey, this is reality. This is how it is.
And because everyone's been so distracted, they might just accept it.
They call it imposing a constraining reality based on mere illusions while pushing everyone else to the sidelines.
It's like imagine trying to solve a puzzle, but someone keeps dumping out more pieces that don't even belong.
Makes it pretty impossible to see the full picture.
Yeah, you're just overwhelmed and confused.
And that's how they see this diversionism, leading to a loss of democracy and control over information.
So they're saying that to have a healthy society, we need to be able to focus on the things that actually matter.
And that's where their fight against this diversionism ties into their France 27 federative project.
France 27. That's a new one.
They're really worried about preserving the truth democracy and the unity of this France 27 thing.
Hmm. And what is this France 27 exactly?
Well, the newsletter doesn't go into a ton of detail,
Okay.
but it seems like a key part of their whole vision.
Given that they want this big Euro-Atlantic Confederal project, it sounds like France 27 is maybe a piece of that puzzle.
Right, like a specific regional or political group they're trying to build.
Makes sense.
So maybe if we knew more about those European federative movements from the past,
Yeah.
it could give us some clues about what they're aiming for.
Right, because understanding their goal might help us understand why they see this diversionism as such a big threat.
Exactly. And that brings us to another thing they talk about a lot, political foresight.
Foresight.
They're all about anticipating emerging trends and risks and then using that knowledge to guide public policies.
So they're like political fortune tellers?
Kinda, but more like analysts or strategists.
Okay, so how does this future focus connect with their worries about diversionism?
Well, if you're trying to predict the future, you need to have a really good grasp on the present.
Right, garbage in, garbage out.
And they see this diversionism as muddying the waters,
Uh-huh.
making it harder to see the real trends and risks.
So it's like trying to navigate with a broken compass. You might think you're going the right way, but you're totally off course.
Totally. And that messes up their ability to do this political foresight thing effectively.
So they're saying diversionism is basically sabotaging their efforts to build this future they want.
Yeah, exactly. They can't plan if they're constantly being bombarded with distractions.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then there's the whole freedom of thought thing. They're really big on that.
Freedom of thought.
They call it the cornerstone of the patriotic spirit.
Wow. Okay, so they're not just talking about political systems here. It's deeper than that.
Yeah, for them, the ability to think freely and independently, that's like the foundation of everything. And they say that freedom shouldn't be messed with by authoritarian regimes or by these diversionists who they see as trying to control information and shut down debate.
So it's like they're drawing a line in the sand. They're saying, hey, we need to protect this right to think for ourselves.
And that's how we build a strong and resilient society, or as they call it, their open and resilient federative project.
So they see freedom of thought as essential for building this better future they're envisioning.
Absolutely, and it all leads up to their call to action. They want patriots of the free world to join them.
Patriots of the free world, huh? It's interesting how they frame this as a global issue.
Right. They're saying this whole diversionism thing, it's not just happening in one place. It's a threat to what they consider the free world.
So they're casting a wide net looking for allies in this fight.
Yeah, they believe that by working together, they can create a stronger, more unified front.
And that's how they'll achieve this common future based on cooperation and mutual respect.
Exactly. It's all about collaboration for them.
It's interesting how they emphasize the peaceful nature of their initiative.
Especially when you contrast it with the strong language they use when they talk about diversionism.
Right. It's like they're saying we need to be aware of this dangerous threat, but we're going to fight it with peace and unity.
Oh, and one more thing about this newsletter. It's in French, English, and Basque.
Trilingual.
Makes you think about who they're trying to reach.
Yeah, English obviously has a huge global reach.
But then French, that's big in international affairs and across Europe. And Basque, that's a language tied to a specific cultural identity in a specific region.
So it's like they're trying to speak to different groups at the same time.
Maybe showing that they're serious about including diverse perspectives in their whole patriotic framework.
It definitely adds another layer to their message.
Okay, so big picture time. We dove deep into this newsletter from patriots.us.
We did.
And their biggest concern is this diversionism thing.
Right, this idea that misinformation and distraction are being used to keep certain people in power.
And they see it as a slippery slope to losing democracy and control over information.
And they're not just sitting around complaining about it, they're actively trying to do something about it.
Totally. They've got this whole political foresight thing going on, trying to anticipate the future.
And they're calling for people to join them in this fight for freedom of thought and a more cooperative world.
That's a pretty unique perspective. And like you said, when you sent this in, it makes you think about all the information we're bombarded with every day.
Absolutely. It raises questions about how we decide what's important, what's real, and who's trying to influence our thinking.
Exactly. And that's why we do this show, to explore these different viewpoints and get people thinking critically.
Because at the end of the day, it's up to each of us to figure out what we believe and how we navigate this complex world.
So here's something to chew on after you've heard all this. Have you ever felt like you were being intentionally distracted from something important?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like maybe there's a big issue that needs attention, but everyone's focused on something else, something smaller or less consequential. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day noise.
It really is.
But taking a step back and asking yourself, is this really what I should be paying attention to? That can be really powerful.
And it's not always easy to tell what's genuine and what's a distraction.
Definitely it takes effort and critical thinking.
But it's worth it if it helps us focus on the things that truly matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about here on The Deep Dive.
Digging deeper.
Exactly. Thanks for listening.
And thanks for sending us this one. It was a doozy.
Yeah, this Patriots DUS group, they're definitely something else.
They really